Welcome to the Craftswoman channel. In this webinar, we're going to be talking about black hair and the womb. It's really about the black hair care products and the effect on the womb, but I actually found out it's an effect on the whole body. During my research, I learned so much about the different hair care products and how they affect our body. So my interest was to talk about it causing womb diseases and how the black hair care products relates to the high occurrence of fibroids in black women. So we know that about 70 to 90% of women during their reproductive years will develop fibroids, and most of those women are black women. And I wrote my books, The Dark Womb Redemption, A Holistic Guide to Womb Wellness, because I started to learn about all of the womb, I guess the womb crisis that's happening in America, actually really all over the world, but more so here because that's where we live. Well, that's where I live. So that's where I see most of the incidences occurring. So what gives me the authority to talk about this and why I'm talking about this? I am the craftswoman, Mrs. Edu. I am an author and I published 5 books. 3 of those are guides, and one of them is a pregnancy journal, and the other one is a workbook. I'm also a womb wellness specialist. I am a certified doula and doula trainer. So I started working in childbirth and postpartum and pregnancy. And then that's when I found out that a lot of women were having problems with infertility, ovarian cysts, fibroids, PCOS, endometriosis, all of those type of things. So I got into womb wellness, learned about the yoni steam, got certified in yoni steam, womb yoga. So I am also a womb wellness specialist. I've helped myself overcome different womb issues and also other people. So this is something that I found very interesting about black hair. And I'm just going to read this. This is the source, okay? So if you want to see exactly the whole article or the whole blog, you can just click here. Well, not click here, but type that in your search bar. So as we know, the hair is extremely important in Black America. Our hair is very different from everybody else's. We get made fun of, but actually our hair is stronger, it's divine, it can supersede, it's just so holy and divine. And we've always styled our hair in all these different elaborate type of ways. And then through the transatlantic slave trade coming to America, and even the Black Americans that were already here, we were forced to not, we weren't allowed to wear our hair in all these different elaborate ways because they said that it was distracting, causing too much attention. We were thinking too highly of ourselves. The white women were getting jealous. So they would force us to basically cover our hair. Now, there is also spiritual reasons for covering your hair, as you can see in the Bible. Different religions say that you're supposed to keep, the woman's supposed to keep her hair covered when she's pregnant. You have just different type of spiritual systems that talks about covering your hair, but that's not to take away from the actual divinity of black hair. In pre-colonial African societies, black hair was seen as a symbol of a person's identity. Popular styles like braids, twists, and dreadlocks were used to symbolize a person's tribe, social status, and family background. During the transatlantic slave trade, slave owners forcibly transported people from West Africa to colonies in modern day Brazil and throughout the Americas. Some African women, namely rice farmers, braided rice seeds into their hair as a means of survival of themselves and the culture of their homeland. Enslaved Africans also used cornrows to transfer and create maps to leave plantations. and the home of their captors. Black hair was used as a tool of resistance. We also, Black people or the Yoruba people also used braids as a way to communicate with their deities. And this is another article that I saw, melanated woolly antennas. I just want to, this is, let me show you the source. So this is the source right here. So it's a blog, The Spiritual Nature of Kinky Black Hair. Melanated woolly antennas. Hair is an extension of our minds. No two hair types are alike because no two people are alike. Hair is as unique as a fingerprint because we all have a unique way of thinking. The melanin in our hair acts as a panel that absorbs all forms of energy and transfers it to the brain. This enhances our sixth sense, allowing us to pick up subtleties in our environment, like warn us about potential danger or alert us when someone is lying. When we look at the cause of a Black person's head and wonder why Black hair is so kinky, it's because Black hair is a manifestation of how energy moves in the universe in spirals. So when people say, this made the hair stand up on my head, our hair is an extension of our body. Our DNA is connected to our body. It's not separate from us. Just like our fingernails is attached to our body, it's not separate from our entire body. So this is an ancient hairstyle that was worn, I don't know which country in Africa, but you can just see that we've always, you can see in the hieroglyphics, we've always did all these different things to our hair. This is a collage of a lot of different, more like braided hairstyles that you can still see today. People still wearing these hairstyles, but it's ancient. It's hairstyles that we've always worn. As you can see, this is what we would call like the fan back in the 90s. But yeah, we used to wear the fan. We would do like a ponytail though and make it into the shape of a fan. And this is kind of like Afro high top fade blend, but ancient natural hairstyles of us always decorating our hair. So then this is more like what you would say. This is more like, excuse me, wear how we wear our hair now. I used to wear my hair like this all the time. Actually, this is like one of my favorite hairstyles. I love the afro. So this the afros start to come back popular in the 70s. So we've gone through of us trying to assimilate or integrate into society and trying to become more acceptable, not susceptible, but more acceptable in society. So we started out with all these different natural hairstyles, wigs, and natural things and stuff we would put in our hair. Then there was the pressing comb. We had our hair straightened to fit in, but of course sweat and humidity and all that stuff will make it come back to its natural texture. Actually, it really never comes back to its natural texture. When you are pressing your hair, you're actually burning it, and when you're burning it, it never really fully just comes back to its natural texture because you're burning it, but it's still, it's not chemicals. Well, we put a lot of petroleum grease and stuff on our scalp, but that we went from that, and then we went from the relaxers. We had a small bit of the curl, and now we've always had the braids, but we have the extension braids. We had the tracks where you would glue glue them on. Now then they sew it on. It's so many different hairstyles, but that's what we went through. So these are like generally natural kids hairstyle. So this reminds me of, they call this like virgin hair, the innocence of you. Your hair has not had any type of chemical straightening on it. All it is probably some grease, some gel. It's a little toxic in there, but it ain't as bad as the permanent relaxers that we put on our hair. So I had the little ponytails and the braids like this. And my mom thought that my hair was so difficult to maintain. I didn't even realize how my hair is really not difficult to maintain. The texture is not so-called bad, but there really is no such thing as bad hair or good hair, because every black person that has hair on their head, the hair is good. It doesn't matter of what the curl pattern, how the curl pattern is. There's no such thing as good and bad hair. Any hair that grows on your head is good. But unfortunately, my mom was frustrated with me crying about the straightening comb, and so she put a curl on my hair, which is the worst thing that could ever happen. And when you do the curl, like, I guess she felt like the curl was not as grown up as the relaxer. So at about 9 years old, I got a curl on my hair, right? And then of course, you get made fun of because I think it was more like men that actually had the curl in the 80s. But you put the chemicals on there, you put the rollers on there, you put the chemicals on there so you can have a permanent curl. And what ended up happening to me, as far as like how my hair story relates to my womb story, in a short version, I have another type of version that's not so good in my book, The Dark Room Redemption, about my hair stories relating to my womb trauma. But I ended up, when I started my cycle, I ended up having really, really bad cramps. And I was the only one, like, of in my family that had horrible cramps. And I was the only one who got that curl at 9 years old. And everybody else, we eventually all, most of my cousins and everybody would get like the relaxers later on in life, but not as young as I did, with getting the chemicals on at 9 years old. So anyway, I believe that the getting the curls, getting the relaxer on my hair affected my womb, with me having really, really, really bad cycles. Of course, I was able to heal myself of that so I don't have to faint and vomit and sweat. I used to faint, vomit, have excruciating pain. I would be sweating in front of the fan with the heating pad, taking so much Tylenol, Advil, every pain medicine, because it was just so bad. But I ended up, now I don't know what the reason was, but I can't say, because I didn't, by the time I went to get my first PAP, I didn't have cramps anymore, and I didn't have anything come up in my testing. So this is the curl right here. Yep, that's what I had. You had to have a curl bag. You had to have a plastic bag to wear on your hair, because it was so, they call it juicy, dripping. And you have to have the curl activated to keep it curly. So this is Ice Cube. This is so funny. But a lot of more men had the curl, or they call it Jerry curl. I guess Jerry is the one who created the toxic hair products. And then we want to go and get like straight hair. That's not cool to be having a curl bag and your curl activator dripping on everything, messing up your clothes. So we want to get here as young adults. This is more of an adult hairstyle, but I like it. It's nice. This is what we want. This is what the majority of us want. We want straight hair so that we can fit in society, because we say that it's even more manageable. But it's not that it's more manageable. It's just that we don't know how to take care of our natural hair, because we don't even know what it's like if we've had a relaxer the majority of our life. And I'm going to read this article, What Black Women Should Know About Hair Relaxers and Cancer. There's a lot of, when I typed this in the search bar, it said 2025 lawsuits. So they're still trying to get people to file lawsuits against these companies because the hair relaxers causes cancer, uterine cancer to be specific, but really it negatively affects the whole body. The chemical damage hair relaxers can have on Black women is coming under intense scrutiny. Several landmark studies have been published in the last year highlighting the link between chemical hair relaxers, which break down proteins in hair to straighten it, and increased rates of uterine cancer. So this was the reason why I initially wanted to talk about this, but just during my research, I've just learned that it's way more toxic than I thought. The FDA proposed a ban on hair smoothing and hair straightening products containing formaldehyde, an ingredient known to cause cancer. Hundreds of Black people have filed lawsuits against big name beauty and cosmetic retailers like L'Oreal and Revlon. And we know, I don't even know, are they still, but they, yeah, they used to make the perms. I don't know if they still do, but that's kind of like, these are old school brands. I don't know if people still use them like they used to. They are blaming their chemical hair relaxers as causes of uterine cancer, fibroid tumors, and infertility. So this is the link between the chemical relaxer specifically and the womb. According to the Black Women's Health Study, post-menopausal Black women who have used chemical hair relaxers more than twice a year or for more than 5 years have an increased risk of developing uterine cancer. And you know that when you get the relaxers, you're supposed to get it done every 6 to 8 weeks. I remember I was perming my hair like every 3 weeks. Ridiculous. And you're supposed to use gloves. And we thinking that we OG, we don't need gloves, but you're you're damaging your body. Basically, you're polluting your body with harsh chemicals by not using gloves. Researchers found a higher rate of uterine cancer among postmenopausal Black women who reported having used chemical hair relaxers for at least 10 years, regardless of frequency. Women who reported hair relaxers more than twice a year or who had them for more than 5 years had a greater than 50% risk of developing uterine cancer compared to those who had never used relaxers or rarely used relaxers. In 2021, the BWHS found that Black women who had used hair products containing lye, an ingredient typically found in salon relaxers, at least 7 times a year or more than 15 years, had a 30% increased risk of developing breast cancer. Among the 50,543 women who participated in the 25-year study, 2,311 participants had developed breast cancer, including 1,843 who developed invasive breast cancers, meaning the cancer spread into surrounding breast tissue. While Black women have a 4% lower incidence rate of breast cancer than white women, Black women have a 40% higher breast cancer death rate, according to the American Cancer Society. Other studies have shown that hair relaxers can cause fibroids and an early onset of puberty in girls. Early puberty can increase the risk of metabolic syndrome such as obesity, type 2 diabetes, and cardiovascular disease in adulthood. So yes, it messes up your hormones when you're putting these chemicals on these little girls and causing them to start their period early. And the earlier you start your period, the more likely you are susceptible to so many diseases, such as breast cancer. Why are hair relaxers so harmful? The chemicals contain endocrine disrupting chemicals, which can disrupt the function of the endocrine system, which includes the thyroid, ovaries, pancreas, and adrenal glands, and affect hormone levels. These chemicals include phthalates and parabens, which can be found in relaxers. People can be exposed to them by absorption through the skin or inhaling them in air. So you have to think about the hairstylists. Even if they're natural, if they're putting it on people's hair, they're inhaling it, it's coming through the skin. And I also made a video, I am a retired nail technician, and I worked in a salon industry and spas for over 20 years. And I'm going to tell you, the chemicals in there is toxic. I mean, I worked in the tanning salons. That's toxic as well. But just inhaling all of those chemicals. And even when you read like the warning labels, we were supposed to be wearing gloves, mask at that time, and also goggles, because it's toxic chemicals. Even the fingernail polish, the fake nails, the acetone is toxic chemicals. And the ones who are doing the service, beauty professionals, are more susceptible to getting all of these diseases as well. And you can read this for yourself. If you've ever gotten a relaxer, it usually sits on for a little bit. And most people sort of alert their hairstylist that it needs to be washed out once it starts tingling and burning. And at that point, you are running the risk of burns. And if you're running the risk of burns or any sort of injury with that type of chemical, then you're definitely increasing your risk for absorption. If you do that over time for many, many years, then it can, of course, become continuously problematic. Endocrine disrupting chemicals can also be found in some beauty products like lotions, body washes, and perfumes. Parabens, phthalates, and other chemicals that are often found in chemical hair straighteners pose a greater risk than other products because of scalp exposure. Even other chemical hair straighteners marketed as safer to use, including no-lie relaxers, still pose potential risk. I remember when the no-lie relaxers came out, and I knew that it's still bad. U.S. law does not require the FDA to approve cosmetic products and ingredients other than color additives before they go on the market, according to the FDA website. However, the FDA announced last week that it will propose a ban on hair straightening and hair smoothing products containing formaldehyde. The FDA did not immediately respond to a request for comment. Stricter regulations of ingredients in cosmetic products and using alternative methods like heat straightening may help reduce exposure to chemicals. Okay, that's when the hot press comb, the hot comb, the pressing comb, they're saying that that's a better alternative to straighten your hair than using the perm, what we call permanent hair relaxers. Am I still at risk if I stop using chemical hair straighteners years ago? Researchers are not entirely sure. We can't definitely say that occasional use is entirely safe, said Abrams, an author of the 2023 study about hair relaxers and infertility. Our data essentially suggests that less frequent use is associated with lower risk when compared to regular prolonged use. Black women accounted for the greatest population of people who have started using relaxers at age 10 or younger. More than 50% of the Black participants in the study also had used hair relaxers before they reached 10, which is horrible. Bertrand's study found that post-menopausal Black women had a greater risk of developing uterine cancer if they used hair relaxers more than twice a year or consistently for more than 5 years. Now we know it's not too many people that's getting a relaxer twice a year. They doing that once a month, maybe 6 times a year. So to keep the fake look, to keep the lie going that that's your texture of your hair, you're gonna have to do it on a regular basis. So not twice a year. And it's like, and I remember when I decided to go natural in the 8th grade, I didn't go natural then because I was told that no, don't do that. But I said it's like creamy crack. It's like crack. Like you gotta keep going back every time. And I was like, why do we have to keep doing this to our hair? So eventually I did become natural and talked about that in my book. So my hair story is, wow, it's really connected to my womb story because everybody at my church was asking me, when you gonna do something to your hair, what you doing to your hair, you trying to become Muslim and all this type of stuff. They was not liking that I went natural. Got made fun of in my family, people that was close to me, but outsiders would say that they liked it. They liked my hair because it was like a short mini afro at first. Thousands of Black women have also claimed that hair relaxers from L'Oreal were harmful to their health, including a group of Black women who sued L'Oreal and other companies last year. One woman, Bernadette Gordon, who used hair relaxers from 1983 to 2015, experienced uterine and breast cancer, resulting in a double mastectomy and a hysterectomy. She previously told NBC, and that's where this article comes from. Hopefully, I put up the actual um, link. So we're gonna get into braids. Hold on 1 second. So we know that braids is a popular hairstyle, especially really with all ages. It's not really many older people get braids, but this is definitely a popular hairstyle. I love braids, but I don't like that they put all that gook on your hair. They braid too tight. These people braid. First of all, the salon industry is so messed up with these non-refundable deposits. They don't want to wash and condition your hair. It's just gotten out of hand. So this is popular for children. You know, it's easier. You don't have to worry about doing your hair. It's good. You know, people get it when they're pregnant, when they're going on vacation. So this was my hairstyle. Oh, I used to love this hairstyle. The bob, the braids in the bob. Oh, couldn't tell me nothing. But we're not gonna get into too much of the strain. It is straining your hair because people braid so tight because they don't want your new growth to show. They want it to be looking real straight at the root. And I don't like that. When I got to take pain medicine because it hurt too much, that's why I just had to lock it up because these girls don't know how to do natural hair. Yes, this was my hairstyle. Love the bob hairstyle. I love braids. But braids hair has some carcinogenic materials in it. So this is the link. My source, you can go look, type that in your search bar and look up everything. Of course, I couldn't put everything in here, but I tried to put the most important stuff in here. Black women across the United States are commonly exposed to carcinogens due to inadequate regulation of substances involving hair braiding, an important cultural beauty practice. While public awareness of harmful ingredients in Black hair products has slowly been increasing, synthetic extensions as a source of toxins has not been an area of focus. Hair extensions used for braiding consist of either human hair or synthetic fibers. Synthetic extensions tend to be used more frequently due to affordability. Extensions are typically worn for 4 to 6 weeks with continuous exposure to carcinogenic ingredients for those who subsequently reinstall their braids throughout the year. This exposure is taking place in a population already plagued with high rates of endocrine disorders, breast cancer mortality, and uterine disease. Therefore, further research is required to investigate a causal relationship because since other Black hair care products have already been associated with negative health outcomes, in the interim, public health practitioners should educate individuals seeking synthetic braids, braiding professionals, and healthcare providers about potential exposure to carcinogenic compounds, as well as advocate for regulation of synthetic extension ingredients. I mean, I don't know. Like this is saying it's $1 billion industry. Excuse me. I don't know. Braids it's such a convenient style. I know that they have seen a decrease in the purchases of the chemical relaxers when the trend starts to go more natural. So we go through these dips and waves. So then in the 70s, we had a natural phase. And then in the 90s, would it be 90s or 2000s, we had another phase with the neo soul conscious type of trend that's been staying around a little bit longer, but I don't know if educating people on it's actually out there about the hair being toxic, but people still gonna get some braids. By 2028, the global hair wig and extension market is expected to surpass 19.12 billion. So they expect it to grow. Black women in the United States, along with women in continental Africa, are the largest consumer group of this industry. In 2022, 34% of adult American Black female internet users stated they wore braids with synthetic extension within the last 3 years. They wore braids. Synthetic braids were also the second most popular hairstyle among American Black women aged 18 to 34. Amongst the United States, 16.1 million adult Black women, 5.5 million are potentially exposed, 34%. However, this is likely an underestimation, as many preteens and teenagers in the Black community frequently wear synthetic braids as well. Given the vast demand and consumption of synthetic braids, intervention is critical. The current lack of government regulation has resulted in the exposure of Black women to toxins in these readily accessible and popular synthetic extensions. For instance, the affordable modacrylic fiber Kanekalon is utilized by many well-known synthetic braided extension brands and is commonly recommended by professional braiders due to its resemblance of Afro texture hair and resistance to unraveling. As you can see, it's saying that those chemicals are toxic to humans, carcinogen. The National Cancer Institute directly links vinyl chloride, which is in this Kanekalon hair, with leukemia, lymphoma, and rare forms of liver, brain, and lung cancer. So that's when you get people who get lung cancer say, I've never smoked before, but you got them braids, you got them wigs, you got them relaxers, you got toxins coming into your body in a different way. So we have to look at everything. It's just not about what we eat. To braid a full head of hair, stylists typically use 8 26-inch extension packs. This equates to continuous exposure of 800 grams of modacrylic fiber for up to 6 weeks. Synthetic extensions contain and emit other concerning substances, including volatile organic compounds upon heat exposures. Most braiders seal the ends of synthetic braids with hot water treatments or a curling iron to prevent unraveling. They're saying that this can also expose you to asthma, Black people. Another concern is the synthetic extensions contain flame retardant fibers, relatively cheap chemicals used to meet fire safety law performance standards, though flame retardants themselves are not required by fire safety laws. In January 2022, New York State joins 4 other states in banning flame retardants due to their adverse health effects, including cancer and reproductive organ toxicity. There is currently no ban on flame retardants at the federal level, leaving synthetic hair users at risk. Both stricter enforcement or current flame retardant bans and enactment of a federal level flame retardant ban would be regulatory steps toward protecting consumers. And let's talk about these wigs. Your wig could be poisoning you. Studies found pesticides and other toxic chemicals in synthetic hair in Nigeria. So even though this study is in Nigeria, it's same thing. We still have the same toxins. So people, and growing up, wigs are for people who are really losing their hair, like going through health challenges, and older people. But now it's little girls, young girls wearing wigs, and they say, "Oh, they wore wigs in Egypt." Yeah, they did, but not that it's not the same wig, and it's not like wearing a hair hat, every day was something to do, and it was more of a meaning to it. We don't know. It's a little deep and why they wore the wigs. Man-made fibers go through various chemical processes to make them look and feel more like human hair. The raw materials used to make some of the products are toxic, and hair products are mainly made from plastics, which are not biodegradable, which is harmful to the environment. And they're talking about in our study in Nigeria, we investigated 10 synthetic hair brands commonly worn by women. Some were made in Nigeria, others in China, Ghana, and the USA. We found that all of them have different levels of contaminants such as silver, cadmium, chromium, nickel, vanadium, and lead, including several pesticides, which are hazardous to human health. Synthetic hair is usually worn to the scalp. Women who wear it should be aware of the potential harm, but they don't care. And for those people who have the human hair who think you better than the people who have synthetic hair, because if I'm gonna wear a wig, I'm gonna have to wear synthetic hair because I'm not putting nobody else's hair on top of my hair. And then all that, because this is a part of your hair, is a part of your DNA. But I'm not wearing no synthetic wig either. Unless it's like I'm trying to disguise, I'm trying to do stuff, because I have worn locks the majority of my adult life. I do know that people treat me different. So when I was taking one of my children to the doctor, I decided to put on a wig that a family member had gave me. And they treated me different just to see if they would treat me different. And they definitely treated me different with that straight wig on. So I don't think it's nothing wrong with maybe getting braids every now and then, maybe wearing a wig every now and then. Just like makeup is toxic, you can wear makeup sometimes, but a daily thing, it may not be the best thing for you. It's people that will never come outside without their wig. And I didn't even get into alopecia. I'm not even gonna get into alopecia. I'm not even gonna get into how these wigs, these glues, all these chemicals is causing our edges to be gone, causing our hair to grow. I mean, not grow, actually. People think our hair don't grow, but it's you have to take care of it. I've had hair down my back for several years. And some people will question it, think it's fake. They think we just can't grow hair, but you can grow hair if you use good natural products and take care of your hair. So these are the brands that they sampled. And you can read and see. They are saying that they're finding heavy metals in significant amounts. One of them, lead, is used in stabilizing the PVC that the synthetic hair is made of. Yeah, so the chemicals is going to make it basically make it last longer and make it more like natural hair, like where you can do different styling and stuff to it. Lead is dangerous to humans. However, it affects the membranes, DNA, and antioxidant defense system of cells. Lead also interferes with the normal development of a child's brain and nervous system. So putting these wigs on these children is it's just not the good thing. It's not the good thing to do. It's not the best thing to do. In humans, exposure to heavy metals is associated with various biological risks, such as damage to the kidneys, liver, lungs, reproductive system, and nervous system. It has also been associated with cancer, skin irritations, asthma, and cardiovascular diseases. We found also that the synthetic hair samples were contaminated with 11 chemical compounds, which are pesticides. The level of these compounds or chemicals found in the hair exceeded permissible limits, making them dangerous to health. We also found high levels of nitrate in the hair samples we studied. This has not been reported in previous studies on synthetic hair. Exposure to high levels of nitrate can lead to diseases such as cancer, enlargement of the thyroid gland, and a blood disorder. You can read it there. So nitrates is what causes cancer in the hot dogs and the processed meat, like the deli meats and stuff. Why this matters. Exposure to the toxic chemicals that we found in synthetic hair can have serious health consequences. Apart from damage to vital organs, they can cause infertility, birth defects, asthma, bronchitis, and cancers. They also lead to ADHD, endocrine, endocrine system disruption, and respiratory diseases, among others. People who wear synthetic hair should consider these risks, especially as chemicals, substances, and heavy metals can be harmful even at low levels. They're saying that synthetic hair manufacturers do have other options. They can use high quality synthetic fibers such as hyperlon instead of plastic fibers. They should use fibers that are free from PVC and toxic materials and opt for environment friendly ones. The reason why they're not going to do it, for one, they don't care about the people that it is affecting, which it is a majority of Black women, and it hasn't hurt their pockets. So that's why they're not going to probably do anything about this. So lastly, we're going to talk about hair dyes. So for those people who have the natural hair, you talking about other people with the chemicals in their hair, you are no different. And out of all of these toxic chemicals, the hair dye was the worst. Beautiful hair. I like that auburn color on that natural. Nice black roots coming in. I like that. I like this color. Real pretty. Beautiful color. And that that platinum hair is beautiful, but it's deadly. Dye dangers, harmful chemicals in hair coloring products and their health concerns. So look that up. Scientists have long reported hair dyes could be harmful. The International Agency for Research on Cancer concluded that workplace exposure to the chemicals used by a hairdresser or barber is probably carcinogenic to humans. Remember, I was saying that the service provider should be wearing gloves, masks, and goggles. Hairdressers and salon workers may be at a greater risk of harmful health effects than non-salon workers. One meta-analysis of 42 individual studies reported the longer someone works as a hairdresser, the more likely they are to get bladder cancer. And I know a lot of people who have done hair, and I'm telling you, most of them they've had some health issues. Even if it's just even from standing up, feet, legs, back, carpal tunnel, all this stuff. It's just not healthy to even be a hairstylist. Frequent use of hair dyes associated with a higher risk of several cancers, including uterine and breast cancer, as well as the formation of ovarian tumors. Hair dye use can also cause rashes and allergic reactions for people using them and workers applying them. A study published last year reported that hair dyes are one of the most frequent sources of allergic reactions for both hairdressers and consumers. Studies have reported that hair dye related cancer risk may be higher among Black women compared to white women. Using permanent hair dye was associated with a 45% higher breast cancer risk among Black women compared to white women, one study found. Over 1,000 different ingredients were used in various combinations in product formulation. The result is an infinite combination of mixtures of hazardous ingredients, which may interact together to cause worse health problems than each ingredient individually would. So it was a graph that I was copying and pasting, but it didn't show up. But this is one of the chemicals that's in the dye. You can look up resource and all. Health concerns, skin irritant, skin sensitization, endocrine disruption, cancer, M-onophenol, aminophenol. So you can read and pause and look up all of these side effects, basically. This is neurotoxin, toxin to the brain. You know, there was somebody recently told me that their relative had brain cancer and they believe it's from the hair products. They lifted up they said it was a lot of like gunk under her scalp. And what's really serious about, putting this stuff on our hair is that we are putting these stuff on our scalp, on our skin. The biggest organs right underneath our scalp, our skin, is our blood vessel. So all of these chemicals go directly in our blood. This is another chemical that causes all these different things. This is dyeing your hair. This is what it does to your body. Oh, the fragrances is another harmful thing, causing dermatitis, respiratory distress, potential harm to the reproductive organs. And they used to say that you can't perm your hair while you're pregnant. Stay away from the microwaves, all this different stuff, because it can affect the unborn fetus. So we are really supposed to be going natural while we're pregnant. So as you can see, formaldehyde releases again, causing skin irritation, sensitivity, and cancer. And they're saying that it's also associated with more health concerns. So you can go up and click that link and actually look at the graph. It'll show up on the actual page. So we're going to end this with perms. These are the chemicals that each of these things have. I don't think I did the dyes because the dyes we just did that. But the perms, formaldehyde, phthalates, paraben. Quinoline, braiding hair, leukemia, lymphoma, rare forms of liver, brain, and lung cancer. Wigs, silver, all of this stuff. All of this stuff from the wigs. This is what it's causing. Even birth defects, asthma, bronchitis, the hair dye. Hairdressers are more likely to get bladder cancer. Consumers can get uterine, breast, and ovarian tumors. I have written The Dark Womb Redemption, a holistic guide to womb wellness for Black women. So if you have PCOS, endometriosis, ovarian cysts, reoccurring miscarriages, uterine polyps, any type of womb issue, if you want to heal from sexual trauma, child molestation, that is a good book to read. If you are pregnant or thinking about getting pregnant, this is The Dark Womb Redemption 2, which is a guide to pregnancy, childbirth, and postpartum. And the last book is The Dark Womb Redemption 3, which is a guide to fertility, home birth, and breastfeeding. So these are the guides that I've written. I also have a journal and a workbook. So that's it. Thank you for joining. You can Cash App The Craftswoman if you want to send a donation. You can go to my website, craftswoman.com. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, share, subscribe, and leave a comment. Let us know, what did you think about this video?